After a bloody weekend for the crypto markets, things are starting to recover just a little bit. We have a lot to cover ahead of tomorrow's FOMC meeting. Numbers or CPI print tomorrow, FOMC tomorrow and Wednesday, PPI. There's so much to cover. We're going to get into all of that momentarily. Before we do, hit that like button down below, subscribe to our channel. Nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. We're a few guys who love following the markets, dissecting them, but please do your own research when it comes to any buys or sells. Kev, you texted me Friday night. Look at the charts. It's terrible. And boy, you are not lying.
Yeah, didn't we called it though on the show Friday, didn't we? We said this could be a really bad weekend or a big weekend. We see a lot of movement.
No, don't give me any credit. You called it on. You called this guy over here called it on the show.
Well, I mean, this is our show, so we did a pretty good job of presenting to the public that there was going to be a chance that we saw some negative price action. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, but yeah, Friday, absolute massacre. It was a beautiful sight to see, especially if you're short in the market. I don't think I've been this excited in months, probably since like November. But no, but in all honesty, yeah, that was just a test run. I think there's a lot more to come, and we'll get into the charts with Bitcoin and a lot of the alts in a little bit. Just tons of stuff coming out this week. Touch on XRP a little bit too, because tomorrow's a pretty big day for it. But this is a absolutely packed week. I'm so excited. This is probably the most data we're probably going to get that's so important to the future of, this market and this bear market. And, anything could happen. And I love that the volatility and uncertainty is at an all-time high probably going into tomorrow. So, I couldn't ask for a better week.
Yeah. Let's go real quick into the week ahead. So tomorrow we have CPI and core CPI coming out. Mm-hmm. CPI is expected at 4.0. Previous was 4.9. Core CPI, which is the one that the Fed looks at more closely, is expected to come out at 5.3, previously 5.5. Now, at this point, we have the Fed probability rate hike of 75% chance for no hike, 25% chance for 25 basis points. I think it's pretty clear that after this data tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we'll have a better thought of where it's going to be. Now, what could throw a wrench into that is if it comes in, not super hot, but not at expectation either. Let's say core CPI comes in at, say stays flat at 5.5. Like, what does the Fed do there? Yeah. That's the $1 million question, and one that I don't know they have an answer for yet, or if they have a thought in their heads of what they want to do. But to me, when we have heard the Fed say, and Jerome Powell in every presser and every panel he's been on say that we are data dependent, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't hike again. Like, we saw every other metric of inflation come out hot lately. They've said as of late that they're not as concerned about the job market and wage growth because they've done some research and that doesn't impact inflation as much. Fine, whatever. Let's throw the job stuff out the window. We had PCE came in hot. And if we see CPI come in hot tomorrow, there's no reason to believe that we shouldn't hike again. I get that they want to see more data, but guess what? There's a meeting in July and no meeting in August. So there's going to be a break. There's going to be like a 2-month span there where no action is going to be taken. So if it comes in hot tomorrow, I think it would be my personal opinion, and not an expert in it, and these guys are smarter than me, yada, yada, yada. If it comes in hot tomorrow, I think they have to raise. Like, I don't think there's any way around it. So that's tomorrow. Wednesday, we have PPI, producer price index, and core PPI. We also get the Fed rate decision and the JPOW presser. We'll give our predictions on that tomorrow once we have more data. Thursday, we get initial jobless claims, retail sales, and some manufacturing data. So those are the big things for the rest of this week.
Yeah, and let's not forget what tomorrow is too for the crypto community. I believe that's the day that the Hinman documents are released from the SEC versus XRP lawsuit. It's a pretty big day. This is a lot of information that we're going to get. Again, a lot of people are going bullish into XRP right now too. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out, because if it ends up being a nothing burger and people are buying into this, or we get some information that's like more in the side of the SEC, might see some of those SEC coins, or the coins that were labeled by securities last week or a week ago. Maybe those take a little bit of a hit too, because this is a pretty important day for a lot of the altcoin markets. And, that on top of CPI, PPI, all this shit playing out this week. I don't know, man. This is just gearing up for there to be like so much uncertainty, and I love it. But yeah, I think that if we do get in, but go back to inflation, like if we get another hot reading tomorrow, it's like, can we really ignore the fact that inflation has spiked, right? PCE spike, CPI spikes here. It comes in hotter than expected. Then are we actually bringing inflation down at this point? Probably not. So if they don't raise raise this time, they do that little skip that they're talking about, then we might have a bigger problems down the road. Again, we're throwing 25s out there. Is that really doing a lot? I don't think so. Give me 75 tomorrow, and we can just chill. We can just chill for a few weeks, then we'll see how it plays. Then maybe we could skip in a little bit, but I think we do need to see 25 if it does come in extremely hot, at the very least.
And apparently there's still the expectation for a rate cut this year, which I don't know what makes people think that there'd be a rate cut this year. If you're one of the people who's like, okay, they're going to skip in June, they're going to hike 25 in July, you really think that they're going to start cutting by December? Like, I don't. Like, after July, there's going to be 3 more meetings. There's September, November, and December, I believe. I don't think there's a chance in hell. Like, they've stated, like in their most recent release, they stated that we're expecting rates to stay elevated through January of 2024. So why people are like trying to outsmart what the Fed is saying doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I get that everyone wants to be the smartest person in the room. But as someone who is rarely the smartest person in the room, I can tell you that's not a great strategy.
No, I think the only way they would end up doing rate cuts is if they break something severely. And it's to the point where no one's spending any money, right? Because then obviously inflation would be coming down a lot. What is that? Is that a market crash? Is that the housing market crash? Who knows? It's got to be something extreme for them to cut rates this year. Otherwise, if we're doing it naturally, maybe 2024 is probably the more likely and reasonable scenario in which they do. Again, based off what we have so far this year, I don't see it being a reality.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We also had a fun little piece of news that came out just a bit ago. GOP reps Warren Davidson and House Majority Whip Tom Emmer have put out the SEC Stabilization Act to restructure the SEC and remove Chairman Gary Gensler from his position. Nice. So this bill would add a 6th commissioner. They would have it structured to where no more than 3 people from the same political party could be on it. And it would also add a executive director who'd be in charge of the day-to-day activities. So kind of an interesting way to not have any one person with too much power over the SEC, too much influence over the markets. I mean, I don't like Gary Gensler. I would love it if they removed him. I don't know how likely this is, but after the show, I will give my House of Reps, representative a call. I already looked her information up. Going to give her a little call and be like, hey, I think you should consider this thing, because I am not super happy with the direction of the SEC, the overreach, and how they're really pushing a lot of crypto innovation out of the United States.
Yeah, call up and say, yeah, get that turd gobbler out of there. Because Gary Gensler, I don't know, man. It's a lot of fishy stuff going around with him. Tons of these rumors are hilarious about Gary Gensler too, right? That he had a massive short position, that he applied to be an advisor for Binance. Again, at least he's saving us, keeping us safe from Binance and Coinbase. Did a great job with protecting us from FTX. So he's doing a hell of a job. And I don't think he's going to be going anywhere anytime soon, but let's see how it goes. It's going to be a fight to the death. Crypto versus Gary Gensler. This is going to be something on his, be on his deathbed fighting Cardano and Solano.
Something else, along this lines that came out yesterday, and I don't know if you saw this, Kevin, was the news from Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, that they're moving a large part of their business over to the UK due to more of crypto-friendly regulations there. So A16Z, one of the biggest, investors in crypto companies out there, they do a ton of investing and advising and all that stuff. They're moving a lot out of the United States. Yeah. And I think that just kind of goes to show you that some of the best and the brightest out there just are not confident in the long-term outlook for crypto in the US, rightfully so. And I think something like this, removing Gary Gensler, getting a more forward-looking individual, someone who can actually, remove their own biases and focus on what's best for the country moving forward, would be a great step But I just don't know if that's going to happen. It feels like Gensler's going to be around for a while.
Yeah. Did you also see that one? I forget what firm it was. It was like a hedge fund that just pretty much sold all of its crypto assets on Friday. And they were just like, we're just gonna call it take our losses, and then we're just gonna invest in stocks right now. Crypto's not for us right now, pretty much, but maybe in the future. But
that was like what they had like what $2 billion worth of crypto that they sold.
Yeah, I wonder how much that was in losses, man. At least they won't pay any capital gains on that, but that's a pretty big loss, and that's also just like, man, some people are just defeated. At least, I mean, it's gonna get worse, but you know how defeated people are gonna be at the end if they sell at the bottom.
Wow. So I'm watching the charts as we speak, and on the TradFi side, it looks like we're starting to see a move up near the end of the trading day. NASDAQ up about, it was around 190 when we started the show. It's at 227 now, up on the day. So seeing some movement there, I think as people maybe close out their short positions heading into what's expected to be a more favorable inflation reading tomorrow. So if you want to transition out and look at some of the charts, we can definitely do that. It was on the crypto side, everything is down bigly except for BTC dominance and USDT dominance.
Yeah, it's an ass kicker, isn't it? But let's look at the NASDAQ real quick, just because obviously we're looking at an overbought market. And
GM Britt,
thank you for being here. It's absolutely insane looking at the NASDAQ right now, right? We're looking at how high it's gone. It's on the daily. We broke out of this parallel channel, but it's so convenient that we broke out of it. So maybe people are feeling bullish, and then we got a CPI reading, and then we also got obviously PPI, and then an FOMC rate hike coming, maybe not, maybe on Wednesday. So looking at this, I think this could be a potential fake out. Just I don't know. I don't believe that resistance. We're going to break out of this resistance. This is a bear flag, 100% parallel channel. These tend to break to the downside. I think we're going to fall back into this, and we'll have to get some, maybe it's the news tomorrow. We just see some massive red or something soon. But if I look down here, this is on the weekly for, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is the third week that the NASDAQ is completely overbought. Like, it's at 100 on the stochastic RSI on the weekly. That's overbought for 3 weeks, and it continues to go up. It's not a good sign. But again, the markets are irrational. Look, we're up at what, $233 again today. Or 233 points today. So who knows? Maybe we're going for a double touch up here. Maybe we get a, what is this? 1, 2, maybe it's a triple top, and then we get the reversal. But yeah, I don't believe this. I think that we're gonna find resistance soon. I don't know what it's gonna be that brings us to that point. But if we look at the Dow and the S&P, it's like, let's pull up the Dow real quick. Dow is back at 3,400. I remember that 34,347 was huge resistance up here. Hit our head here, hit our head here, hit our head here, hit it over here a couple of times. But we're getting back into that range. So maybe we get some news tomorrow. Maybe that rallies it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just rejected once again. But again, we're at key resistance for a lot of these. And then if we look at Bitcoin and some of these other alts,
real quick. Let's go to. Will you pull up the S&P, because it's an interesting point, because we're at this double top with a level that we were at back in August of 22, and so I'm curious what you're seeing there.
Yeah, did we talk about
this 43?
We talked about this last week, right? About this green line. I think we put it down, didn't we? We said that this would be an interesting level because we could get that double top.
Yeah, and we crossed over that the high from August of last year. We're back to where we were in April. And I'm very interested to see if it hits rejection here. With this last 45 minutes of the day, if we get here, and here's the fucking thing about tomorrow, right? Is that even if the CPI number comes in at expectation, do we believe for a second that it won't be revised?
Yeah, I mean, they all
is there a snowball chance in hell that this number isn't revised tomorrow, or a month from now if it's a good number?
The question is, do people care? Right?
That is the question, and I don't think they do. I think people
don't care. It's the initial number.
I think the bulls don't care. The bears do, and are people I watch Bloomberg every morning. Mm-hmm. And I gauge TradFi sentiment from some of the stuff on there. I gauge crypto sentiment like from Twitter and other conversations. And it's been a change over the last 3 or so weeks from the sentiment I've been hearing from fund managers, from chief investment officers of they're opening their minds to maybe S&P getting to 4,500 this year. They're open to the idea that maybe the worst is behind us. And when I hear that and I just look at everything else going on, I'm just like, I don't believe it still. Like, and maybe I'm dead wrong, but with everything else, I can't believe it. And I want to like always be poking holes in, my thesis behind these things. I don't want to just like go with whatever is easiest, but when everyone is like looking for these reasons to be bullish, it makes me not bullish at all.
Be a contrarian. The markets in the masses never are right and whole, right? We see more people are wrong than they often are right, and that goes from the top down. We've definitely seen Cathie Wood and people of her liking that absolutely just get destroyed on some of these stocks. And then you see individuals who are, buying pointless things like meme coins or just buying into extreme resistance, and they expect a bull market. Like if you weren't buying Bitcoin at, I don't know, 16K right around FTX, but you're buying it around 30, 31K because, you got FOMO, just because a lot of people are doing that doesn't mean it's necessarily right. And it's absolutely insane to think that people are, revising their outlooks for the S&P and some of these other indices, thinking that it could go higher. I personally, I think that's a fake out. I think they're going to probably be building short positions. They're saying one thing, but they're actually doing another. So it'll be interesting to see how the S&P plays out. But I definitely think this is a double top. We can go up above it, and this is a weekly look, right? So we can go above it, that's fine, but it matters if where we close. I think we're going to close below this level. I think we'll close below 43.24. Was that 43.24? It's 14 points below where we are currently. We're definitely going to have some volatility in the market coming soon. We see the VIX is starting to move a little bit up. If people care about the VIX still, I know we do, but
I mean, God, do we want to get into that? Like,
we could, but it's
pissing me off.
But think about this: we're at extreme resistance for the S&P, right? This is a double top scenario. But then we look at the VIX, and this is the lowest it's been since February of 2020, even lower, right? Or is this? No, it's around the same. It's a little bit higher, but regardless, the last time that February 2020, that next thing we knew was it was all the way up here, right? And if we want to even look at the S&P in February 2020, we can even see if there's any correlation. Let's do that real quick. February 2020. There we are. So that was the height, and that's where we went. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's COVID. Maybe they fucking bring a new variant of COVID. I don't know. Hopefully not, because that's why we're in this position that we're in today. But the point is, we see how overbought that the S&P was at that point. We see how fast it dropped, and we saw the VIX absolutely do the inverse, right? So if the VIX is at this level right now and it shot up, and the S&P is at a relatively high level, we're in a bull market technically, according to Jim Cramer and everyone else on CNBC and Bloomberg and Fox Business, whoever. There's a good chance that those two are going to be inverted fairly soon. When? Who knows, right? The markets are irrational. They can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. It's one of my favorite quotes now, ever since you brought that up on the show. But it's insane to think that, the VIX is done and that we're in a bull market without, looking back at history and saying, okay, in times where the VIX is absolutely low, the S&P is actually in a pretty good level where it's overbought. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is some inverse effect there. So VIX, I think we'll probably see the VIX shoot up a little bit. S&P will be interesting to see how it closes on the weekly. Obviously, it's the first day of the week, so we got some time. But I do think that green line up there for the S&P is going to remain some resistance. We get a double top where we hit here, and we're going to just have to find some support where. I don't know. That's going to be the next question, because I think that we are in a parallel channel that's due to break. We're overbought. If we look at the stochastic RSI, we're at 99 to 98, pretty overbought on the weekly. Again, this is the same for every single indice. It can only be overbought for so long, and then same thing with the VIX. It can only be so undervalued for so long too. So it'll be interesting. And if we want to even get into the dollar, which is going to be the one thing that's going to screw everyone over, in my opinion, it's pretty strong right now, right? We're looking at the daily. We're in the oversold territory, but we were range bound, went below 200 right here. bounced up. Well, technically, we're probably going to find some support on the 50. It looks like the 50 is going to climb and hit to it. So bounce off of that, go to above the 200. If we start climbing, 50 is going to cross the 200. That's going to be a golden cross. It's going to shoot up. And then this with the VIX, which is undervalued. I mean, you could be asking for an absolute nightmare for the S&P pretty soon, right? Risk assets go down while the dollar goes up. The VIX is completely undervalued. It's ready for a pump to the upside. I don't know, man. It's a perfect storm. It's just, again, a matter of just time and being patient. It's everything's lining up, but it's just, you got to wait for that one hay that's going to break the camel's back. And I think it's honestly, it's very close. We just have to be diligent and not give up in our convictions.
Okay. All right. Any crypto tokens you want to look at?
Yeah, we got to look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin is in a really weird state right now. So for the past few days, 26 has been a level where it just can't close above. So that's right around here. We got a wick above it. We're pretty oversold on the daily. Volumes are coming down. We're just in this weird channel where we're trading between the 50 and the 200 EMA, which isn't necessarily a good thing because what we're kind of forming in a way is a wedge, right? Doing this, and then if I want to grab another one, we're doing something like, I don't even know where to put this, something like that, kind of for right now. But we're just, we're between the 50 and the 200, and this is going to keep getting more narrow to the point where it's like, all right, it's got to break one way, up or down. But on the daily, it looks like we could see a little bit of a pump to the upside. Maybe the resistance is the 50 moving average, which is around 27K. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is if we look at the monthly, and we have a massive gap that we need to fill. Excuse me. And also here's the 50 moving average, right? So I kept on saying 22K to 23K. The reason I was saying that is because this massive candle here is a fair value gap, meaning, people were buying in such excess to the point where you didn't really get that value. There was more buyers than there was sellers, so the price shot up like crazy, right? So, these companies like Binance or anyone else who is using stable coins, primarily Binance, BUSD, that was able to push the price up artificially. They were able to push the price up so fast because, in the order blocks, they just had more buying power than most people and they were selling. So price naturally shot up. And because of that, we have to kind of equalize pretty much what's going on in these charts. That's why when we fill gaps, that's pretty much what we're doing. We're just trying to bring it to the point where it's like, okay, this is where the actual fair value price was. And this was artificially pushed up to the point where, people are overpaying above this for this asset. So this tends to be a liquidation level, brings people to reality. And it just coincides with the fact that this fair value gap right here between 22 and 23K is with the 50 moving average on the monthly, right? We see the volume is dropping and we are already filling pretty much this gap here. I think we got to push down a little bit more. It's probably easier to see that gap if we look on the weekly. Yeah. So, we push down here. We already filled up half of this. I think we have a little bit more room to go. And again, if we're also looking at this as a head and shoulders pattern for Bitcoin, that's something that we were keeping an eye on for a while. See if I can even find it. Nah, I can't find the head and shoulder. Oh, maybe it's right here. Yes, there it is. We're talking about this head and shoulders pattern here. That'd be nice if we filled that gap and we came down to that level, pushed up maybe a little bit right here, maybe go to 27K again. And then we just absolutely break down to a point where it's either 20K or we can push down lower. Again, I think it's really weird that Bitcoin is absolutely just trading in this range right now. And the dominance of Bitcoin is absolutely just staying extremely sticky, extremely high. That's also part of the reason why you saw most alts bleed on Friday. You saw that Bitcoin dominance was just extremely high against all other, alt markets. And again, with the SEC, I think a lot of people are just afraid. And the fact that you need Bitcoin, market cap Bitcoin is just so high. It's just naturally people, if Bitcoin goes down even a little bit, obviously, people are going to get out of the markets of altcoins just because they don't have that much faith in them. Also, trading pairs too. Say Matic or ADA going against BTC pairs on KuCoin, BitMEX, Binance, whatever exchange you use. If Bitcoin price stays high, and these alts are dropping, then obviously you're going to need more of the alts to. You're going to not get as much Bitcoin because the alts value are dropping. So that's going to hurt alts even more. People are going to sell out of them, right? Just because you want to make the most money possible. And you can actually make some good money when using coin margin trading pairs. But for right now, I think that Bitcoin is definitely due for a little bit more pain. I think that this consolidation period between 25.5 and 26 that we're in, I think that's going to break. I think you're going to start seeing some really bad fireworks if Bitcoin breaks below 25K. I think the level I have right now is 25,280. If it breaks below that, I think we'll be at 22, 23K before you know it. And then maybe that's when we start to see a little bit of a recovery, to recover from what happened on Friday night and also to recover from, the next move. So I think there's a little bit more pain for Bitcoin on the horizon. I could be wrong, but again, that would play really nicely with this head and shoulders pattern that I still believe that we're trading in. And it would also fill majority of this gap that we absolutely shot up with. So fill this gap right now to 22K, which is right here. Wouldn't be surprised. And then we could, I'll even push this anymore. Yeah, do it like that. Then we can do that shoulder there, even with that. And then after that, after we get our little correction, we can push down and try and fill some of these gaps that we had here from, was that 17K right at the beginning of the year. That's from the BUSD pumps. So just a theory. Who knows? Randy, 20K Bitcoin. I would actually prefer if it was half of that. Let's do 10K Bitcoin. Come on, let's do it. It'll happen.
You just want pure carnage, man. Like you're just all about the death and destruction of this market.
I want people to have the best opportunity in this possible. And again, what we pretty much preach is what we practice, right? I've been in shorts. I haven't taken profit yet, even though Friday was arguably a pretty good day, right? At the same time, working cash flow. It's a matter of making money, and you can do it in both ways. This market, right now, obviously, I'm benefiting from shorting the market, but at the same time, I understand that I want to take full advantage. So if this does go down to the bottom, I want to make sure I make money on the way down, and then I have cash on the side so I can make money on the way up. Would I get bullish or long around 22K? Maybe. Again, we have to look at the charts. I do think that there is a correction. Nothing can go down forever, instantly. But I do think we're due for a correction once we get to those levels. We just need to fill those gaps. Those gaps were absolutely artificially made. And once we fill those, then we can finally get some normal correction before we actually go into where we should have gone post FTX. But again, we saw a hell of a push back from January all the way to April, May, where we got to 31K. We need to, obviously let that play out, but we're due for a major correction in the whole macro scheme, not just one for, what happened Friday night. We need to actually see some lower lows, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's also why we're seeing lower lows in alts, right? Everyone was saying, look at the Cardano. It's one of my coins, man. But again, they put in a lower low. Matic, it's not a lower low of the market, but 51 cents. It's pretty. We're 21 cents away from our bet, JWeb. Like this could happen fairly fast.
We're 63. We're at 33 cents away from our bet.
Oh, now, but it was 51 cents on Friday night. But it shot all the way down to 51. Here, I'll pull it up real quick.
Yep.
So actually, I don't even need that. Just do it. This is USDT pairing. Yeah, look at this candle right there.
That is just terrible.
And our bet is right here. So that's where it has to hit. So Matic, you know where to go. But yeah, it's really insane. I'm gonna pull up Bitcoin dominance because again, these are the things that I'm looking for right now. Just full disclosure, I think people are gonna get squeezed a little bit in the short term. Money goes back and forth. Nothing goes down forever, and there's definitely gonna be opportunities for people to make money. Wouldn't be surprised if Binance is absolutely, doing some swapping to, squeeze some people who are shorting, BNB. Tons of people opened up interest on BNB trying to short it. Shorting a little bit too late, in my opinion. I'm not adding to my shorts with Binance whatsoever. I did add a little bit to Tron this morning just because I think there is still some good downside for that, but I could be wrong once again. But Bitcoin dominance being at 49.22%, that just gives me more confidence that alts aren't going to make it. Like not for a while. This dominance looks like it's extremely strong. It's stronger than it's been in the peak up here. I think there is room for another push to the upside. Is that 51.22? Is it 51.37? Man, maybe we get rejected off the 200 EMA on the weekly. It's possible. Like we're not overbought yet on the weekly stochastic RSI. So if Bitcoin wants to shoot up or alts want to dump, or the DXY just wants to tank a little bit or push up, like there's a multitude of factors, but in every single scenario, alts get decimated. So that's why shorting the alt market right now seems like the safest play. Obviously, be careful. I'm not giving you financial advice. It's just the situation is set up for the way so that alts can't survive or thrive in this market. Bitcoin can trade in the stupid $700 range, and it's absolutely going to kill everything below it. So seeing the Bitcoin dominance so high, I think it's going to go higher. Wouldn't be surprised if we actually do go to 51%. So just keep an eye on that. That USDT, you see that people are moving into cash. DXY, once again, is always going to be an important indicator because I do think that this is going to start making its way to 105. So you don't necessarily need to be looking at these coins. You could if you're interested in some of them, but for the most part, DXY, Bitcoin dominance, and Tether dominance are the most important things to be keeping an eye on if you're expecting this move to the downside, like I do, of like Bitcoin going to 22, 23K.
Okay, that is going to be where we wrap it up for today. Big morning ahead tomorrow. 8:30 a.m. Eastern is when the CPI numbers come out. Very interested to see how the market responds. We will get into it same time tomorrow, everybody. Appreciate you being here. If you have not yet, hit that like button down below, subscribe to our channel, a comment to get engage with us, help us with the algorithm. A share would be greatly appreciated too. We just want to try to help spread as much decent information as we can. There's a lot of crap out there, so we just want to make sure that we can do the best job we can and spread the good word far and wide. So thank you everybody for being here. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Stay safe and cover your shorts.
Take care, everyone. I told you, summertime, start wearing those shorts. Not financial advice.